Good evening, you're watching the 8 o'clock news. I'm Rishika Barua. Let's get you the top headlines we're tracking tonight. It is day 2 of Rahul Gandhi at the Enforcement Directorate office. He's been questioned for 8 hours. His questioning continues as we speak. Meanwhile, several Congress leaders were detained and dragged away as they tried to march to the ED office earlier today. Amid job crisis, Prime Minister Modi's big job push. The Prime Minister's office today has promised 10 lakh government jobs over the course of the next 18 months. Rahul Gandhi calls the jobs promise a Maha Jumla, asks where are the 2 crore jobs that were promised every single year. A radical recruitment plan for the army Agnipath has been unveiled today. 17 and a half to 21-year-olds will be inducted for a period of 4 years. This recruitment of the Agniveers, as they'll be called, will begin in 90 days. Mamata Banerjee meets Sharad Pawar in the national capital. The Mamata Banerjee-Sharad Pawar meet comes ahead of the crucial presidential polls. Remember, Mamata Banerjee has called for a key opposition meet tomorrow. 22 parties, including the Congress, will attend. From the Congress, Mallikarjun Kharge and Randeep Singh Surjewala have been confirmed to attend. Over 6,500 new coronavirus cases in the country. The positivity rate is at 2.5%. Over 1,700 cases in Mumbai in just the last 24 hours. Over 1,000 cases in Delhi. It's an 82% spike in Delhi's cases in just a day. The positivity rate in Mumbai is alarmingly high at 15.5%. Delhi is the world's most polluted city. India ranks the world's second most polluted country according to a new report on air pollution. 40% Indians lose 7.6 years of their life as a result of pollution. Well, our top focus story tonight, Rahul Gandhi is being questioned by the Enforcement Directorate for a second straight day. This in the money laundering case, remember, linked to the National Herald newspaper. The questioning is still on as we speak. It's been going on for the last 8 hours. Today, top Congress leaders Harish Rawat, Randeep Singh Surjewala, among others, were detained outside the Congress office as they tried to march to the ED office. Many workers have also been detained, and visuals, of course, show that there were Congress workers who were dragged on the road by the police, not just here in the national capital, but Congress workers protesting in different parts of the country. Now we're told that security has been beefed up outside the Enforcement Directorate office. The Congress addressed a press conference just a short while ago. Let's listen in.
जो आतंक है ईडी का, इनकम टैक्स का, सीबीआई का, उनको खुद को जो अधिकारी बैठे हुए डायरेक्टर्स हैं या चेयरमैन हैं, सोचना पड़ेगा कब तक आप दबाव में आकर के ऐसी कार्रवाई करोगे.
Arvind Gunasekar joins us live from outside the Enforcement Directorate office. So Arvind, 8 hours and counting. Rahul Gandhi is still there. He's being questioned. We know he was only allowed to go back yesterday close to midnight. What are you picking up? What's happening today?
Yeah, Rishika, another long day for former Congress President Rahul Gandhi in the Enforcement Directorate office in connection with the National Herald case. Yesterday, he was questioned for almost 10 hours. The agency had asked him close to over 25 questions, wherein the agency had asked him to give all the written answers in connection with the alleged transfer of shares and alleged transactions between the Young Indian Limited and also Associated Journal Limited. So today morning, somewhere close to 11:30 a.m., Rahul Gandhi joined the investigation for the second consecutive day. He was questioned for almost 4 hours in the first half of the day. After 4 hours of questioning, somewhere close to 3:30 p.m. he was let out for a lunch break. So he took an hour of lunch break and then he again came back. He returned to the Enforcement Directorate office close to 4:30 p.m. and since 4:30 p.m. it's almost 8:30. That is almost again 4 hours of questioning is still underway. So in total 8 hours today and 10 hours yesterday. In total he has been questioned for over 18 hours and it is nearing 20 hours of questioning in total. So what we are being told is that this questioning process is still underway. The agency is recording his statement under Section Section 50 of PMLA, and it is expected to go on 1 or 2 more hours. So like yesterday, we can expect Rahul Gandhi to step out only after 11 p.m. Even yesterday he stepped out somewhere close to 11:30 p.m. So similarly, we can expect him to step out only at around 11:30 p.m. And what we are also being told by our sources that the agency still has few more questions to ask Rahul Gandhi, and if there is a need, he will be again summoned tomorrow to join the investigation for further questioning.
All right, so a long night ahead for Rahul Gandhi at the Enforcement Directorate office, and like Arvind is saying, if all of the order of business isn't completed today, there is a high possibility that he could be summoned for a third day of questioning tomorrow. Thanks very much, Arvind, for joining us. We'll, of course, keep a close watch on those developments with you. Shifting focus to the other big story we're tracking tonight, it is Prime Minister Modi's big job push. The government today announced the filling up of 10 lakh vacancies in various government departments. The Prime Minister's office tweeted to say that the government departments have been asked to complete this entire recruitment exercise within the next 1.5 years. But the opposition doesn't seem amused. Under the ED net, Rahul Gandhi tweeted to say that the government promised 2 crore jobs every year and now is celebrating the filling up of 10 lakh vacancies. But several ministers in the Modi government have in fact lauded this particular move, while the opposition, of course, has criticized it.
निर्देश जारी किए हैं कि 10 लाख सरकारी भर्तियां अगले 18 महीने में पूरी की जाएं, ताकि जिन जिन विभागों में कोई पद खाली है उनको भरने का काम भी किया जाए और देश के लाखों युवाओं को 10 लाख सरकारी नौकरियां मोदी सरकार 18 महीने में भरने जा रही है।
इस देश में 28 लाख सरकारी नौकरियां खाली पड़ी हैं। इस देश में प्रजातंत्र और संविधान को बुलडोजर के नीचे रोन दिया गया है। अब ट्विटर खेलकर प्रधानमंत्री कितनी देर तक हम सबको भटकाएंगे।
And while the centre today has unveiled the Agnipath scheme, which is a radical recruitment plan for the armed forces. Under the scheme, about 45,000 people between the age group of 17.5 years and 21 years will be inducted into the services for a 4-year tenure. The recruitments will begin within the next 90 days, or at least that is what the aim is. And the first batch will be ready by July 2023. Vishnu Shom has the details.
Well, firstly, let's take a look at what the broad scheme is all about. And the question is this: will Agnipath redefine our armed forces? Firstly, what are the goals? Lower the age profile of soldiers, bring in younger people, bring in more youth into the armed forces. In the case of the army, eventually the age profile will go down from 32 to about 26. Remember, this is a scheme which concerns not officers, but it concerns Jawans and the equivalent in the Air Force and in the Navy. The idea is for the forces to become tech savvy and modern, and that after 4 years, because the scheme lasts 4 years, after which all of these individuals leave, you would have disciplined, skilled youth entering the civilian sector. The larger question, of course, would they necessarily be employed, because that depends on other factors. Very significantly, women will enter non-officer ranks, so the numbers haven't been specified at this stage. So while we have women officers in the armed forces, women in other ranks, that's something that's just about starting in the case of military police in the army. Now we'll see sailors in the navy, for example. What are the concerns with the scheme? Well, will the forces lose experienced soldiers? Some would suggest that it takes about 8 years, for example, for an infantryman to become extremely experienced, battle hardened. But after 4 years, in this case, soldiers would be leaving. Should technically trained soldiers be replaced? Again, this affects the Navy and the Air Force a great deal more, where you've got highly skilled technical workers handling the various aircraft in the fleet, handling various avionics, engine systems. They've been trained up to actually achieve certain tasks. After 4 years, is it right to take away that body of experience which they've developed? Will Agniveers, because this is what these soldiers will be called, will they be motivated? Why do I ask this? Because after 4 years, they know that they will not be in the force, they would not have a salary at that stage, they will not get a pension, and therefore they need to find another job. So while they are in service, would they be as motivated? That's a question that's often been asked. So how does it work from a salary standpoint? So let's try and bring you a couple of basic statistics. On year one, Agniveers, who are part of the Agnipath scheme, would be earning 30,000 rupees. In the present scheme, soldiers earn 21,700 rupees, so a small benefit over there. This is for soldiers joining at the very beginning of their careers. By year 4, this changes to 40,000 rupees for the Agnipath scheme, but in year 4, for those in the present structure, it's still about 21,700 rupees because they don't pick up their next rank, which is what decides their pay structure, not in the case of the Agnipath scheme. There's a comprehensive insurance scheme which is there for the Agnipath scheme. It is there for the old scheme as well. Soldiers in both schemes get special allowances. This is important because soldiers, for example, travel to Siachen or work over there. So they get a special allowance over and above the basic salaries that you see over here. So both the old scheme, the present scheme, and the Agnipath scheme will have these special allowances continue. But once they leave the forces after 4 years, there will be a one-time payout of 11,71,000 in year 4. But in the case of the old structure, remember there are higher salaries because soldiers would be working for more than 4 years. They can work up to 15 years, and there is pension on retirement as well. So that's what this is all about. And I think the real idea in this particular scheme is that by opening up funds to the tune of possibly even 1 lakh crores annually by bringing down their salary and pension budgets, there is a lot more which could be available for our capital budget in defense. In other words, for procuring new weaponry. Will this translate into qualitatively better Indian Armed Forces?
Well, moving on to the other big focus tonight, the race to Raisina is heating up. There's speculation that Sharad Pawar could perhaps be the opposition's consensus candidate for president. His party, however, has said that Mr. Pawar will take this decision only if the opposition parties can prove that they have the numbers. Meanwhile, Mamata Banerjee met Sharad Pawar at his residence in Delhi today. This is a crucial meeting that is coming in a day before 22 opposition parties, remember, are meeting. The West Bengal Chief Minister has called for an opposition meet tomorrow to deliberate on a strategy ahead of the presidential polls. Here's everything you need to know.
Heated political activity in the opposition camp as 18th of July, the date for electing India's next president, comes closer. A day after there was open speculation on the name of Pawar for president, the NCP veteran is said to have refused any such move, but since then, hectic parleys have begun. Mamata Banerjee has called for a meeting of opposition leaders. The meeting is to discuss strategy ahead of the presidential polls. Congress leaders Mallikarjun Kharge, Jairam Ramesh and Randeep Surjewala will be attending the meet. Remember, Mallikarjun Kharge had earlier spoken to MK Stalin and Uddhav Thackeray. Mamata Banerjee also met Sharad Pawar at his residence today. In New Delhi, Pawar has been regularly meeting his colleagues to get their sense. This, even as the BJP has not revealed its plans. A formal effort, though, will be made, with BJP Chief JP Nadda and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh assigned to speak to NDA and UPA partners on the strategy for presidential polls.
During my meeting, the way he was explaining the obligations, I think he is not keen to contest for president.
In Mumbai, the PM and the Maharashtra CM Uddhav Thackeray met at the inauguration of the Jal Bhushan building, then again at the Gallery of Revolutionaries. This cozying up at a time of BJP Sena hostilities not lost on anyone, amid the constant tension among the Aghadi alliance members.
आणि पवार साहेब राष्ट्रपती झाले तर प्रत्येक मराठी माणसाची छाती जी आहे फुलून आल्याशिवाय राहणार नाही.
The hectic maneuvering has everything to do with the math. Presidential polls are decided on the basis of electoral college. Votes of MLAs and MPs constitute electoral college. The vote value of each MLA varies. It depends on state population and the number of assembly seats. A total of 4,809 electors vote, and the total strength of electoral college is 10,86,431. The candidate who crosses 50% votes wins. NDA has 48% of electoral college, and the NDA is 13,000 votes away from the majority mark. In 2017, the TRS, YSRC and BJD supported the NDA candidate. In 2022, will the TRS be at warpath with the BJP, YSRC and BJD? That is still unclear. And is the opposition sensing an opportunity here? While movement has begun in the opposition camp, a prerequisite for this to be a successful enterprise is opposition unity, which has largely been a casualty in their strategy to mount on the attack on the government. The question is, how different will things be this time? Bureau Report, NDTV.
And accusing the Uttar Pradesh administration of making a mockery of the constitution, 3 former Supreme Court judges are among the 12 prominent people who've urged the court to react to the violence and repression by the state authorities against Muslim citizens protesting over BJP representatives' remarks on Prophet Muhammad. Their letter to the court specifically terms the bulldozing of houses of protesters an unacceptable subversion of the rule of law and requests the Supreme Court to take suo motu cognizance of this matter. This letter, remember, is coming in at a time when there's been bulldozer action once again in Uttar Pradesh after protests last Friday over the former BJP spokesperson's remarks on the Prophet. Let's shift our focus to the other big story we're tracking. Punjab police have taken gangster Lawrence Bishnoi into their custody. They have finally taken over this custody from Delhi. The cops have said that Lawrence Bishnoi is the mastermind who planned Sidhu Moosewala's murder. He was in Delhi police custody so far. The Punjab police sought a transit remand, and those are pictures from earlier this evening of the Punjab police taking Lawrence Bishnoi into their custody. And while wholesale inflation hits a record high, so more bad news. The wholesale inflation is at 15.9% and it's up for a third straight month. Priyanshi has the details.
The pressure on our budgets is set to go up even further as wholesale inflation hit a record high in May. May's wholesale price inflation figure was above the 15.08% recorded in April and sharply higher than 13.11% in May last year and marks the highest in the current series base of 2012. WPI inflation has been in double-digit rates for 14 straight months now, rising in each of the previous 3 months since the start of the Russia-Ukraine war. Now, what's pushing up the prices? The usual suspects. Fuel and power inflation was the highest at 40.6%. Yes, this means that wholesale fuel and power now costs 40% more than they did in May last year. Crude oil inflation is now up at 78.7%. The food we eat is getting expensive too. Food inflation is at 10.9%, up from 8.9% in April. Now, higher wholesale prices pressure retail prices. The prices we have to pay for our goods could go up even further after this number. Now, amid inflation concerns, markets today fell for the third straight session. Sensex lost 153 points to end at 52,693, while Nifty went down by 42 points to settle at 15,732. Oil and gas shares dragged the markets the most and realty shares gained. Now, markets were down as investors await a sharp interest rate hike by the US Central Bank. The US Fed is expected to hike rates by 50 to 75 basis points as it battles a 40-year high inflation. Back to you.
Well, thanks for that, Priyanshi. Let's shift our focus now to the COVID numbers. While there have been over 6,500 cases reported in the country and the positivity rate in the country is at 2.5%, Delhi today has reported over 1,000 COVID cases, which is about 82% more than yesterday's 614 cases. So in just the last 24 hours, there's been an 82% rise in COVID cases in the national capital, which is worrying. There have been 2 deaths that have been reported in this time period, but the positivity rate in Delhi is at 6.5%. Let's also get you an update from Mumbai, where COVID cases are spiking again with over 1,700 fresh cases being reported, 2 deaths in Mumbai as well. And the positivity rate in Mumbai is worryingly high at 15.6%. That's the COVID positivity rate, and it's been seeing this gradual increase. Maharashtra has also recorded a jump of 241% in the number of daily cases being reported in the last 10 days. And while a new air quality life index report shows that India is the world's 2nd most polluted city, More bad news. Pollution, according to this report, is the greatest threat to human health in India. And India is facing the highest health burden due to air pollution globally. What's worse is that the report says that pollution is actually cutting life expectancy by 5 years. Air pollution is shortening lives by 10 years in Delhi because Delhi is the most polluted city in the world, according to this report. 40% Indians are on track to lose about 7.6 years of life expectancy. All of this due to air pollution. India's annual particulate pollution is up by 61% since 1998, and 44% of the world's pollution increase since 2013 has come from India. So it's a damning new report on air pollution index. India ranking number 2 and Delhi ranking the world's most polluted city. And well, let's get you the top story from the world of sports. Digital has trumped TV in the IPL media rights. This time, Viacom has paid 23,773 crore rupees. That is more than Disney's TV bid. Rika has the details.
The value of each match in IPL has now risen to 118 crore rupees approximately. IPL now is the second most valuable sports property after NFL. The TV rights, as on your screen you will see, are sold to Disney for 23,575 crore rupees, which means 57.4 crore rupees per match. The digital rights have been sold for 20,500 crore rupees, 50 crore rupees per match, and non-exclusive 18 matches have been sold for 3,258 crore rupees, that is 33.24 crore rupees a match. The non-exclusive 18 matches have been bought by Viacom and they will be streamed on Voot for the rest of the world rights. 1,858 crore rupees is how much as the other bidders paid. The total value of media rights went over 48,000 crore rupees. Now IPL's revenue is more than the yearly tax collection of 19 Indian states.
And well, we leave you with these pictures of the Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai, who broke down while he was watching a film. The film is called 777 Charlie, and he broke down as he was remembering his dog. The Karnataka Chief Minister broke down after watching this particular film, 777 Charlie, as the film celebrates a bond between a man and his dog. So the Chief Minister lost his dog and broke down emotional after watching the film.